Good morning, traders. It's Wednesday, February 13th. Taking a look at the charts, we've got the SP 500. And yesterday we saw the market have a big gap and go, really gapped higher. We have a gap from about a week ago, another gap yesterday. The market gapped higher and just continued to rip to the upside. Overall, we're getting a little overdone. This red hashtag that we have up here indicates a level where usually we see sellers start to step into the market. It means prices move too far too fast. And I think we could start to see a little bit of choppiness in the market today. We've been talking about this for a little while, but today, more or less, the market is pushing higher again. We're getting deeper into these highs here, this kind of overhead resistance zone. And this is where we're going to start to see, I think, some really big volatility, big price swings, big pops and drops in the market. 2,800 is in there. It's a whole number. And more or less, sellers should start to step in as we get closer to that level. Now, at this point, the market's still ripping to the upside. It's up about 0.3% this morning, so stocks are set to gap higher again. Overall, we're picking up speed and momentum, and this is what happens right near the end of a trend, usually a move. You see price pick up speed and it goes parabolic, just like to the downside. To the upside, you typically see gaps and sharp rallies into a market top. That's what happened over here. You see a huge pop and then a drop. Market went higher, it had a huge pop and then dropped. Over here, had a big pop, it gapped higher with exhaustion gap, moved up and then sold back down. So that's kind of what we're looking for here is this final kind of push and pop. We're going to hope the stocks that we are in will break out and run. And then we could start to see this weaken. And what we've seen many times is when the stock market starts to sell off and move down, we see natural gas actually outperform and start to do really well for some reason. Not sure why, but it's done it for years. So it could end up signaling a stronger pop in natural gas as well. Taking a look at, let's just pull up natural gas this morning. It has been selling down. It had a pretty big move down this morning, down about almost 5% at one point, coming back down to test this significant pivot low. More or less, it's starting to rebound, taking back half of that today. Maybe this is a shakeout. Overall, if we were to just look at going back in time here, more or less we could have the market chop around here. You can see last time it came down to this level. The last couple times more or less came down, had a bounce, came back down and then took off. Same thing happened over here. If we zoom in, you can see same type of thing. Price came down, had a bounce for a couple days, came back down, tagged it again, and then took off. So that's kind of what is potentially happening here. It's come down, it's bounced, it's coming back down to tag this level. We've got increased volume. That's usually a sign that the market is putting in a top or a bottom. Usually you see increased volume near turning points in the market. So overall, we'll see if this can get some traction over the next few days when we get a big pop and move up into this $283 level on a reaction high, something similar to what happened over here. Taking a look over at our stock plays, NIO is down yesterday from its previous day. More or less, it's faded back down into the 20-day. It is now more or less in the heart of some high volume support zone. We'll see if it can get some traction and have a pop back up near these highs and potentially break out for a run. These type of plays, you never know when they're going to take off, but more or less a very bullish formation overall. As long as the equities market continues to move higher, this should get some traction when the buyers step back in. But overall, very strong on balance volume. It's been holding up as price has been pulling back, and we're settling down into support here. So we'll see if we can get some traction there. Looking at Roku, we're still long Roku. Yesterday was up about 4%. Nice pop there yesterday with some good volume behind it. We'll see if we get a breakout and a run potentially today. We're looking for, it does have potential to have a huge pop and run up to the 63 area. That's not something I expect to happen in a one day, but if the markets continue to move higher or hold up, these stocks this should continue to outperform and continue to move up into that area. Obviously, with the broad market getting near resistance, we're going to need to probably start to raise our stops as price moves and limit the downside in case the market does start to roll over. Taking a quick look, let's just move over to gold and silver. Gold and silver relatively flat today. Overall, you can see it's been in a nice uptrend. Gold, you can argue here it's got a bull market, or sorry, a bull flag there. If we look at the GDXJ, the juniors here, which we got out on the day at the top, just near the high here, it's been pulling back ever since. More or less, we're looking for the next wave down. Usually you see you want an ABC correction, a three wave to the downside. If we throw a Fibonacci extension, we can get a downside target here. High to the low, carry this forward. This is kind of what we're looking for going forward. Another drop down to this 31 area, which would act as support through this previous high. It's also just a momentum move from the high to this oversold level to where it bounced back up, and now it is consolidating. If we can get a drop down into this area, it could very much so be an opportunity to get back in. That'll be a nice pullback from where we got out. Give us an opportunity to get back in. Overall, the chart still looks bullish and forming somewhat of a bull flag here. And we're just looking for that final kind of washout, something like this here, where the market just kind of drops and picks up speed to the downside, kind of cleanses itself more or less into a previous consolidation or previous high, which is what we're looking for here, a drop down into a previous high with a Fibonacci measured move. This sector is outperforming, so these pullbacks can be bought, and we can expect a price to continue to move higher going forward. So we may stick our toe back in the water if we get this washout here. If not, the market could rally and chop around, build a major base. If we go to the weekly chart, there's still a lot of price action to get through. All this back here, it actually goes back even further. There's a lot of price action to get through, huge volume by price. You can see the blue bars back in here that we're stuck at right now. So for all we know, this could consolidate for months, but overall short-term basis, it's popped, pulled back, popped, it's pulling back, and potentially we can get in for another pop and push up into this 33, 34 area, at which point it could continue to chop around and consolidate for several months before maybe breaking out and starting a big run. Looking over at the US dollar index, the dollar today or yesterday was down, which helped metals a little bit. Over today, it's trading higher by 1/3%, so we're seeing it's going to continue to move higher. Overall, strong dollar is going to put some pressure on precious metals, but we are still channeling to the upside. We have a series of higher lows, we have a series of higher highs, and this market could very easily go up and push up into this area, which is a previous high back on the chart, equal to about 199.00 on the US dollar index chart, which could signal a huge reversal and sell-off in the dollar, which could spark the rally in precious metals. So that's kind of what we got to be aware of. We could still see, this is a weekly chart, we still could see several weeks of the dollar grind its way higher and keep the precious metals under pressure for a little while. Looking over at crude oil real quick this morning. Crude oil, this is the weekly chart. It's sold down through the week. It's recovered, actually pretty strong recovery the last couple of days. If we go back to the daily chart, you can see here it's pulled back, maybe a flush out low here, and it's recovered pretty strong today, moving up again another percent. Overall, it's consolidating in the grand scheme of things, was in a very strong downtrend, trying to build a base. It poked to nominal new highs, breaking this high here, and it is continuing to just kind of trade sideways. Not sure exactly where it's headed at this point, but more or less we've got this kind of basing formation. It could very easily chop around for a while. Overall, we got a couple levels of resistance through here. This previous high down here will act as a pretty critical support level. It may ping pong around in here for a while, and a breakdown or a break up I think could be very significant. Break to the upside will bring us somewhere around 62. Break to the downside I think could bring us right back down to 44 potentially as this tries to base and find a bottom. Last but not least, take a quick look over at Bitcoin. Bitcoin had a nice pop a few days ago. Overall, it's consolidating some big volume. We'll see how things start to play out here. It's showing some signs of life. It's a one-day pop. Doesn't really mean the market is turning around. We've seen a big one-day pop before, only to go to new multi-year lows. And we'll just see how things unfold here. At this point, it's forming a little tight bull flag, but again, still stuck in a downtrend. It still has a series of lower highs. We got lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, Uh, if this starts to break out and breaks to the upside and can break this previous high, then we'll have a higher low and a higher low, and we'll have the first higher high, which would signal that it is starting to reverse. But overall, it is still under some pretty significant resistance. You can see this volume, blue lines here, volume by price. It goes all the way to here and back again. That is right where we're stuck under. There is huge volume trading at this area, which is why it popped and stopped there. Lots of people are getting out of Bitcoin now that it's back to this level where they entered the market, and it's stuck through there. So we'll keep our eye on it. Overall, still in a downtrend and under pressure. Anyways, that's it for this morning. I will talk to you in a little bit. Bye-bye.